Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another banner review video. Today we're going to take a look at the new Sacred Stones banner, which includes Eirika 2, La Rochelle, and Myrrh. Sacred Stones is my favorite Fire Emblem game of all time, so I'll try my best not to be biased during the review. And after the review for each hero, I'll be including some of my skill inheritance recommendations. Just a quick reminder that Soth has been demoted down to 4 stars, which also means that you can inherit Life and Death 3 off of his 4-star version. Anyways, we are going to go by color, red, blue, and then green. This is our second Eirika, and at max level she has 36 HP, 31 attack, 35 speed, 20 defense, 22 resistance, and 144 BST. So Leo used to be the only other Red Tome Cavalier ever since the beginning of the game. It's not that hard for a hero to be better than Leo because honestly he's not that good. His stat spread is really bad, but he does have his own niche considering that he has okay defensive stats both physically and magically, especially if he has a plus defense super boon. Eirika is obviously built for the player phase because both of her defensive stats are trash and she has pretty good speed with okay attack. Nothing really special about her stats, it's just nice to finally have another Red Cavalier released into the game. You can't really get creative with a glass cannon stat spread like this. It's just going to be default weapon, blade tome, or some other tome with an attack and speed boosting A skill with desperation. I guess depending on her IVs, a refined owl tome with horse emblem buffs is viable as well, but I don't think it's worth the investment. Her unique weapon is, I think, Glepner. 14 might grants 3 resistance passively, so her resistance shoots up to 25. If foe's HP equals 100% at start of combat, grants attack and speed plus 3. So it's kind of like Lloyd's Regal Blade and the opposite of Silica's Ragnarok. It's pretty good. Extra 3 attack and speed is a fairly good amount. It's a combat buff, so it does stack with every other buff in the game. She's probably going to be used as in 1-round KO'er, so basing the effect off of her foe's HP is great. Unlike Silica and her Ragnarok, Eirika can actually use desperation and still get the effect from her tome. Definitely keep this weapon, I see no reason to replace it. Rally attack speed is her assist skill. The only other hero with the assist skill is Bride Cordelia, and she's a limited edition unit. So here's the thing, in my opinion, rally attack speed is worse than rally defense resistance, just for the simple fact that players usually run attack and speed buffs rather than defensive buffs on their teams. However, with better C skills being introduced into the game, rally attack speed isn't that bad and could see more use in the future. I still don't like the fact that you have to waste the unit's turn to buff an ally, but I mean, just because Eirika has this assist skill doesn't mean you have to use it. It's great to have just to increase arena score. A slot is Swift Sparrow, perfect. If you want to go even more glass cannon, then run Life and Death. If you want to retain her bulk because you're afraid that she might get one-shotted by distant counter melees on counterattack, then keep Swift Sparrow or go Fury. B slot is Desperation, great for glass cannon heroes. It allows them to attack twice in a row before the enemy counters. You just gotta make sure that the unit meets the 75% health requirement before initiating combat. C slot is Red Tome Experience. Red Tome allies on the team gets 2 times experience. Alright, so if you are training up your units from level 1, it's actually better not to use these 2-time experience skills because your unit has to kill more enemies to level up. Therefore, they'll also gain more SP, and the stamina cost is much lower for training tower at that level. However, you could just level up your units to level 40 quickly with these experience skills so you can farm SP and big badges from the 10th stratum at the same time. So it's up to personal preference, I guess. Eirika 2 is not a very flashy or exciting unit. It's great that she's a Red Tome Cavalier because it's been a long time since we got another one. Not a good unit for arena score because her BST is really low. It's the same as Owen's and Cecilia's. All of their BSTs are penalized because they are ranged and Cavalier units. Despite all that, she's not a bad unit to pull out for the middle rounds in Arena Assault. Good offensive stats and has an excellent default stat, so you don't have to spend that many resources on her once you summon her. Best boon is of course attack or speed, but mainly speed. Best bane is any of the defensive stats, HP or defense. HP would be the best out of the two. You could potentially do something with a plus resistance Eirika, I think, but it'll take a lot of investment and it's just not worth it in my opinion. Here's her quote-unquote most optimal set. If you summon an Eirika with neutral or more speed, then feel free to run her outside of Horse Emblem. All she'll need is 1 hone speed buff in order to double most units. Just make sure to replace the C slot with whatever skill that your team needs. If she's on a Horse Emblem team, then Hone Cavalry or Fortified Cavalry would be the best C skill. This build works for any IVs, including the really bad ones like minus attack and minus speed. The only thing with minus speed is that you pretty much have to put her on a Horse Emblem team so she can get those Hone Cavalry buffs. Minus speed Eirika has 32 speed, and with Hone Cavalry buffs and everything else taken into account, her speed tops off at 48. She's gonna need the speed seal to double most whaled sword units, but she shouldn't have a problem with greens. I'm not a big fan of swapping out unique weapons, plus I tried to balance efficiency and resource cost, so this is pretty much the only build I'll recommend. Next is La Rochelle, Blue Tome Cavalier, a low 33 HP, 33 attack, 31 speed, 17 defense, 31 resistance, and 145 BST. I don't think it's right to compare her with Owen or Rhine Daddy because they are all very different. But as for her stats, they are very underwhelming if I want to be quite honest. Each of her stats are either god awful or middling, so yeah, she's just average. Doesn't mean she's not good. If you put her on a horse emblem team, then she can definitely still make some noise. Evaldi is her unique tome, pretty much the same as Eirika's, except that it passively increases defense instead of resistance, which is kind of weird considering that her defense is already very low. So with the tome equipped, her attack is 47 with 31 speed. When she activates the effect, it goes up to 50 attack and 34 speed. It's 56 attack and 40 speed. I haven't even included a stat boost in A skill yet, so she could very well go up to 45 speed and almost 60 attack with neutral stats. So like I said, even though her stats are underwhelming, she is a cavalry unit, and as long as you put her in the right environment, she can be alright. Growing Light is her special. Okay, so Growing Light is garbage to begin with, but I think AoE specials conflict with her tome. These AoE specials activate and damages foes before combat, so when La Rochelle attacks an enemy, Glowing Light pops and damages the enemy. Then the enemy will no longer be at 100% HP. Therefore, her tome effect will not activate. I haven't tested it yet, but I think on paper it makes a lot of sense. Even if that's not the case, just get rid of Growing Light. It's garbage. Swap it out for Draconic Aura, Iceberg, or Luna, depending on the IVs. B skill is Renewal. I have no idea why she has Renewal. Maybe as a budget set, you can give her Ardent Sacrifice or something and turn her into a pseudo healer. C skill is Res Tactic 3. The effect is worded really bad, so it might confuse a lot of you guys. I made a graphic for this for Attack Tactic for a previous video, so I'll use the same graphic here. So basically, these tactic skills are used on mixed teams. In order for an ally to receive the buff, the player's team cannot have 3 or more of your ally's unit's movement type on the field. If you look at the screen in example 1, Sigurd has the tactic skill. There's 3 cavaliers, so none of them are granted the buff. Black Knight is the only armor unit, so he'll get the buff. If you take a look at example team 2, if Roy dies, then there's only 2 cavaliers left on the field, so everybody is granted the buff. Example 3 is pretty straightforward. The movement types doesn't exceed 2, so everyone is granted the buff. But anyways, back to the skill. Res Tactic is probably the worst tactic skill, but it does have its uses. The first one that comes to mind is a Sanaki with Attack Res Bond and a Refined Cymbeline on a Flower Emblem team. So my opinion on La Rochelle is pretty much the same as Eirika, except much worse. The stats are underwhelming and her default set is definitely worse than Eirika's. Also, Rhine Daddy is summonable as 4 and 5 stars rarity, and he's much better than La Rochelle, so I don't really see the point to spend orbs on her. Best boon is for sure speed, and extra attack is never bad. A boon and resistance wouldn't be that bad either. You can go some sort of enemy phase anti-mage set, and it even allows her to run ploy skills much better. Best bane would be HP or defense, and maybe even resistance for certain player phase builds. Here's some budget sets. I have no idea why you would want to keep Renewal, but let's say you're a really cheap player and you keep Renewal. Fury is a cheap A slot option that gives her a bit more bulk and speed so that she can go toe to toe with foes on both phases. The extra bulk also helps her tank distant counter sword units in case they have Vantage or something. With neutral speed, she hits 40 speed, which isn't good enough to double red units, which are her main target, so make sure to put her on a Horse Emblem team. The second set is with Ardent Sacrifice, Darting Blow, Renewal, and Speed plus 3 Seal. 43 speed with this build, still not good enough to double the popular sword units. This version of the build I'm showing is using resistance tactics, so you can't put her on a Horse Emblem team, so you'll need to make sure she's getting some sort of honed speed buff. That way her speed totals at 47, which should be good enough to double most fast sword enemies. Ardent Sacrifice is the assist just for the synergy with Renewal, but you can swap it out for reposition or drawback for any of these builds. And the last one has Desperation, which would make the most sense. I would say her optimal build would be a carbon copy of Eirika's build with Swiss Sparrow, Desperation, and all of that jazz. I guess Fury or Life and Death works as well. You just gotta make sure that she's gained those buffs though. The Triangle Depth Lancebreaker is a minus speed option. It's meant to be used as a pocket pick for Arena Assault to one-shot reds and one-round KO lance units. For example, as long as Ryoma and Ira do not have Distant Defense 3, then La Rochelle can one-shot those two even if they are plus 10 merged. Not a very good build overall, but it's a pretty good situational pick for Arena Assault. Last unit of the banner is Myrrh, 42 HP, 33 attack, 25 speed, 36 defense, 31 resistance, and 167 BSD, which is 4 higher than Naoi's. Before I talk about her stats, note that she's our first flying Manakete or dragon. Therefore, I will not compare her with Fae because it's like comparing an infantry sword unit with a flying sword unit. Because she is both a dragon and flyer, it means that Myrrh cannot inherit a bunch of skills. These skills I believe include Steady Breath, Wrath, Bow Breaker, Flashing Blade, Gale Force, Sword Breaker, Infantry Pulse, and Shield Pulse. Not like she would use most of these skills anyways, except for Steady Breath and Wrath. However, on the flip side, she can inherit Iode Shield, Flyer Formations, Guidance, and Flower Emblem buffs. Also, she has more weaknesses, weak to Falchion, Naga, Divine Naga, Bows, and Merrick's Excalibur. Do note that Iode Shield only neutralizes effective against flyer bonuses, so she'll still be weak to Falchions and Nagas if you decide to give her that. So yeah, she's pretty unique. As for her stats, they are amazing. Excellent total physical and magical bulk. 33 attack is decent, and so is 42 HP. 25 speed is pretty low, but that's kind of irrelevant if we take a look at her weapon, Great Flame. Grants plus 3 attack. Basically, if Myrrh's defense is equal or greater than the foe's defense by 5, then the foe cannot make a follow-up attack, which means that each unit will just attack once each. Well, technically Myrrh can still double, but she's too slow to double without committing into speed. Then the second effect says if foe's range equals 2, damage calculated using the lower of foe's defense or res, which is the same effect as the refined breath weapons. Keep in mind it only states that if foe's range equals 2, then the effect activates. So it works even if Myrrh initiates on a ranged unit. She doesn't need distant counter to activate the effect. That part of the effect is one of the reasons why Manaketes are so powerful right now. Against ranged units, Manaketes will always get the best possible outcome. But yeah, Great Flame is a very defensive weapon. Usually units with high defense like Myrrh wouldn't mind getting double because that would actually charge their special quicker. After said all of that, I think it's still a great weapon. You'll just have to give her a lower charge special that'll complement the rest of her kit. Quick Riposte is probably the go-to B skill or seal because Great Flame will prevent enemies from doubling while Quick Riposte allows her to double. Special is Bonfire. Perfect special for her, 50% of 36 is 18 extra damage. It can go even higher. A skill is Fury. It's viable on her, but not necessarily optimal. It does increase her defense by 3, so there's a bit of synergy there with Great Flame. But Fury decreases her longevity, so it's not exactly the best skill for her. I'm pretty sure the best A slot skill is either Attack Defense Bond or Stay Stance because they both increase her defense, and that's what she really wants. Her whole kit is all about defense. C slot is Honed Dragons, so we finally got Honed Dragons. I mean, it's not really surprising. I think most players predicted that Myrrh was going to have Honed Dragons. It's going to make dragon teams even more scarier, plus Naois and Faes are going to be crazy. So Myrrh has a unique movement type and class, great stat spread, and a pretty good unique weapon. Default set is alright, but it could be better. You don't have to run her on Dragon Emblem teams. She'll be fine outside of Dragon Emblem. You can put her on Mixed Emblem or even Flower Emblem. If you don't have one of those mage flyers, then Myrrh would not be a perfect replacement, but a decent one because Manaketes do deal magic damage. As for boons and banes, best boon could be anything but HP really, but the most important boon would be defense. Speed is a +4 super boon, and 29 is definitely salvageable in today's standards, but even so, I think the best bane for her is speed or HP. These are enemy face sets that are mainly for melee versus melee matchups. The only difference between the three is the 8 slot skill. You can go Fury, Stay Stance, or Attack Defense Bond if you have it. Fury and Quick Riposte is kind of counterintuitive, but if Myrrh takes out one enemy in arena, then her job is basically done, so it doesn't even matter if she can't use Quick Riposte again. I guess you can also try Renewal in the B slot with Quick Riposte 3 seal. It'll decrease her bulk by 6, but Renewal increases her longevity, so it's good to use for events outside of arena. Here's a build that can counter the strongest version of both Brave Lynns and Reinhardt, but she'll need the buffs from either Fortified Flyers or Fortified Dragons. Otherwise, she'll only be able to take out the Multigear version of Brave Lynn. These builds are kind of like the complete opposite of the Quick Riposte sets. They are more player phase oriented builds because of Brash Assault. When Myrrh is at 50% or lower, then she can basically double melee foes with Brash Assault. Then on the enemy phase, when an enemy tries to attack her, then Vantage activates, and if it's timed correctly, then Bonfire activates along with Vantage. If she's plus speed, then you can swap out her weapon for lightning breath with a speed refinement. Her speed will be at 35, which is at the borderline for preventing doubles. However, because she's green, her speed doesn't have to be super high because her main targets are blue and green units, which are on average a tad bit slower than reds. If you have speed defense bonfire, which I highly doubt, then it would be perfect to use with this set. If she's minus defense, which is a -4 super bane, which is horrible for her, toss out Great Flame and give her a defense or a resistance refined lightning breath. I would probably just give her double distance defense 3, quicker post, and glimmer, then call it a day. Mostly used as an anti-mage and dagger counter that cannot tank Lyn. Even with Ioti's shield, she can only survive Mulligar Lyn, so just forget about it and avoid her altogether. She's extremely strong and there's tons of builds for her, but those were the main builds I could think of. I'm pretty sure there's more builds for her though. Alright, so the best heroes to summon for in this banner, in my opinion, is Myrrh first, then Eirika, and lastly, La Rochelle. I think that's probably what most of you guys think as well. Best fodder unit is still Myrrh, Eirika, then La Rochelle. I think Hone Dragon is a lot more valuable than Swift Sparrow, and Swift Sparrow is more valuable than Res Tactic. La Rochelle will most likely drop down to 4-star just like so keep that in mind. The question of the video is, who's the better Manakete, Fae or Myrrh? I understand that they are completely different, but I just want to know your opinions. With Hone Dragons added into the game, I think a speedy Fae with all the right buffs surrounding her is a lot more scarier. Also, Fae has a higher base HP, so she's able to use Infantry Pulse fairly well, which can support all of the other infantry Manaketes on the team. Myrrh does have higher BSD, so she'll be better for newer players that are trying to climb the tiers in Arena. They both are good in their own rights, but I do think Fae is a lot better on a Dragon Emblem team. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.